Hello, Master Sombra VOD. This is actually my second time recording this because the first time the file got corrupted. Yay! So I already know what happens, more or less. But I'll just go through the points that I made last time real quick. Hopefully, because I've already done this, this will be a relatively short review, so you don't have to waste so much time watching it. First of all, here you try to hack the Rhine from like in front of him, sort of ish. You're kind of to the side, so that's a plus, but you're still kind of relatively in front of him, so it's hard to do because they can all see you, and if you try to hack, they'll just shoot you, which is what they're doing. And then so you decide to leave. Okay, can't do it. All right, that's fine. And then this translocator here, you throw it on the stairs here, which is fine, but it's still kind of like, yeah, it's hidden. The translocator itself is hidden from the enemy team. But once you teleport there, you're not going to be hidden from the enemy team because you're just on the stairs. They can see that. So a better place, and you're going to be hurt when you teleport back. So a better place to do it would be down here in the Mega because it's hidden. The translocator is hidden from the enemy team. You're going to be hidden from the enemy team when you teleport there, and you're going to heal when you teleport there too. You could have hacked the Hanzo first here instead of shooting him. I noticed this a lot during this VOD actually. You choose to hack, or you choose to shoot people instead of hacking them and then shooting them. Is that Hanzo moving, or am I just crazy? No, he's definitely moving, but it's paused. Okay, whatever. You tend to shoot people rather than hack them and then shoot them. If you hack them if they're not looking at you, and if you come up behind them, they're not looking at you, you have enough time usually to hack them, unless you're just a god and they just get that 180 flick onto you to cancel the hack. You generally have enough time, especially a Hanzo. It's hard for a Hanzo to hit you. You have enough time to hack him and then shoot him, because then once you hack him, first he can't storm arrow you, so the only way for him to kill you is to land his primary fire, which is a lot harder than storm arrows. He can't jump away, so it's easier for you to shoot him too. And he's just there. He can't move. His healers, he has Mercy, Ana. It's going to be hard to heal him unless they fly up, in which case you can just TP away, whatever, right? But you definitely hack him first. But also, because he ends up just dropping down. I'm not sure why he's moving while it's possible. He ends up dropping down here, but if he just stayed up here to try to contest you and you TP to the stairs, he could see you and he might be able to finish you off. I don't know. So that stair TP was kind of not so good. Here, you give up high ground and go back to your team, even though there's no real reason to do so. You're a little bit hurt, but like I don't think he's coming to. Oh, he came back to contest you. Okay, but if he didn't, you could have easily stayed up here, or like instead of going back to your team, a better TP might be down here. Throw it here and then TP here and go get the Mega, and then. Yes, they'll know that you're there somewhere, and then you can go invisible, right? They'll know that you're there somewhere, and that's the thing. They'll know that you're behind them somewhere, so they're always going to have to, like, check behind them every now and then. But you go back to your team, which is not terrible, but it could have been better. And here, again, you tried to hack her, and then you stopped. Maybe because you thought she was going to shoot you, but... You definitely should just try to hack her. Or hack the Rhine, and then you can shoot and get ult charge. But although Sombra is a DPS character, she does not deal nearly as much damage as the rest of the DPS characters on the roster. So she gets most of her value from her hack, and most of her value from being a nuisance in the enemy's backline, because it forces them to turn around and have to look away from the rest of your team to deal with you. So that's how you should be playing Sombra most of the time. Getting behind them, or like force the attention of the enemy team off of your team and onto you. If you can do that, you're a good Sombra. And then spend the rest of the time just shooting tanks to get EMP and get good EMPs. You're a good Sombra. Now that's easier said than done, of course, but Here you decide to prioritize the Ashe, um, and I don't think you hack her first, anyways. Even though she's not looking at you. First of all, you could have totally hacked her and then shot her, and then she can't dynamite you. She can't coach gun away. But second of all, you're already down 2. So even if you get the kill on the Ashe, the enemy's still gonna have one more player than you until your people start coming back, and they will inevitably come back faster than the enemy team. However, it's hard to get a kill on the Ashe. Her hitbox is really small. She can still coach gun away. She can still dynamite you. She can do a lot of things to you. It'd be better if you focus the Reinhardt, because if you hack the Reinhardt, he's forced to back up. And then, as a plus of that, people on your team can shoot the shieldless Reinhardt. He's just a big round circle, super easy to hit. And it's super easy for you to hit to get ult charge too. So prioritizing DPS, yeah, you can do it, but it's much better to prioritize tanks. Especially in down times like these where you're just waiting for your team to get back. Just uncloak, hack the Reinhardt, shoot him for a bit, leave, rinse and repeat until your team comes back, and by then you'll have EMP probably. So there you're helping your team with the Ashe behind, which is not, it's fine. It's good actually. But it's one person, your Genji was on her, everyone was on her from your team. It would have been better to take that time to get behind the enemy backline, and then like you'd be able to get a hack on the Reinhardt or the Zarya or someone, and then you can prime them for some more. But here, I mean, the enemy team uses 4 ults, so you lose the fight. That's fine. That's not really your fault. Here, what happens, your Zarya solo grabs 1 person, you EMP 4 people, and then your Reinhardt solo shatters the Reinhardt. So, yeah, what I assume happened was you're like the Reinhardt, okay, we can EMP shatter this fight. He's like, okay. So, in his mind, he's like, as soon as Sombra EMPs, I'm going to shatter. And you EMP it, you hit 4 people, and maybe he thought his shatter would reach further than it does, because it only hits the Reinhardt. It only hits Reinhardt. It doesn't hit anyone else. As a result of that, I mean, you end up losing this fight, but the only thing that I think you personally could have done better is maybe tell your team to play a little bit slower so that you can get into a better position to scout out where the enemy team is, and scout out like, okay, let me start over. The only way I think you could have personally played better than this is if you tell your team to play a little bit slower so that you can scout out where the enemy team is playing, so that you can get into position for like an ideal EMP. You have time. You have 1 minute and 35. I mean, you have so many ults that if you can get this big EMP off, you win. Problem is, your EMP, although it gets 4, the 4 people that you get with it, they're kind of like all spread out, right? So Hanzo's on high ground. No one on your team can deal with him except for Genji. And you if you throw a translocator up there. But he's hacked up there. That doesn't affect him that much. He's safe for the most part, unless Genji goes up, but he can see that coming. So, and even though he's hacked, he can still do his main goal, that is deal damage with his primary fire. You missed the Mercy, and she's in Valk, so that's kind of really annoying. She can still fly to people, heal them a lot, and res. You hit the Ana, which is good, but she's so far back that your team, which is over there, can't really do anything, because like most of your team is still around the corner over there. You hit the Zarya, which is also good. Your Ryan just misses the shatter on her, unfortunately. Now the enemy McCree is actually in here. So that's going to be 2 people on high ground shooting down onto your team. Even though you got 4 people with this EMP, Reinhardt was dead anyways because he's in a grab. Zarya and Ana, no one can really reach, and Hanzo, no one can really reach, and they can still do most of their jobs. Zarya can't use bubbles, but she's already high charge. She's just gonna beam people down. Hanzo can't use his storm arrows or his jump, but that's fine. He's got a mercy pocket. He can still use his primary fires on people. Ana can't use sleep, can't use nade. That's fine. She can still heal people with her primary fire as well. So even though you get this big EMP, not much happens because your team is not in position to be able to do anything about it. If you had just waited a little bit for your team to get in position, and your team waited a little bit for you to get in position, then as soon as you EMP, your team can run in on the enemy team and make stuff happen with your EMP. As it is now, they're too far back to be able to do anything. And in fact, the Hanzo on the high ground actually gets a pick on your Ana. And now you're kind of in a pickle. Because Hanzo and Mercy gets this res off, right? That's just unlucky. She's just a little bit too far from you. But, and then this fight just spirals out of control. Because Genji Blades without nano, you can't nano because your Ana's dead. It's just a mess. Most of the mistakes were not your mistake. It was just your team's battle usage and whatnot. But it could have been fixed if you had just say, hey, let's play a little bit slower so I can get into position, so you guys can get into position, so I can scout a bit, stuff like that. Now there, you didn't hack. That's fine. You probably wouldn't have been able to get a hack off anyways because you just decloaked in front of him. Which is another problem I noticed you do a lot this game. You just decloak in front of people rather than like behind or around them. So then it's very easy for them to cancel your hack if you chose to hack them. Of course you don't. Like, you can easily hack the Zarya there instead of shooting her. Although she was low enough so that she could die. But there's other scenarios in this VOD where you just straight up don't hack people who you should hack. And because you don't, they end up getting away and not dying. Whereas if you had gotten the hack off, maybe they would have died. You could have easily hacked the Zarya who was sleeping there. And if you do that, even though you're down one, your soldier, they're down their Reinhardt. And being down your soldier is significantly less important than being down a Reinhardt. Now, if they're down the Reinhardt, the Zarya was sleeping, you hack the Zarya, she's going to get bursted down super fast by the Winston, D.Va, and you. She's going to be out of the picture soon. And then it's just 4 squishies against Winston, D.Va, you, and with a Moira and Ana pocketing you guys. You can easily clean up from that without having to use EMP, and then you have EMP for next game. But, you EMP here, which is also fine, but you should have definitely at least hacked the Zarya there when she was sleeping on the ground. Things work out for your team, you win this fight. But probably could have saved that EMP. Of course, you couldn't really have known that you could have saved that EMP in that fight, but what you could have known is that, hey, there's a Zarya on the ground sleeping. I'm going to hack her. I have my hack. There's no downside to me hacking her. She's a big value hack target as well. Hack her, and then you'd see that she'd probably die. And then there's 4 squishies left, and you're like, maybe I don't need to EMP. Now here, you're up on high ground, which is good. Problem is that Mercy's the only person you hack this entire fight. And then you drop down on from high ground, which is, there's no reason to do it. No reason. Especially doing it onto a Valkyrie Mercy, getting that hack on a Valkyrie Mercy. She can still fly around. She can still get her AoE heals. So it's not even a huge high value hack target. Yeah, she can't zoom to friends, and she can't res. So that's good. But I don't know. Definitely not worth losing high ground over. You come back though, which is fine. And there's a Mercy on you. But, okay, so here, you drop down in front of your team. Instead of going back to... Oh, you don't have a translocator up on high ground. Never mind. You could have thrown that onto high ground, and... I think your team cleans up this fight. I don't actually remember. But basically, that entire fight, you use one hack on a Valkyrie Mercy, which is, I mean, not a terrible target, but again, there could have been better targets to hack. And you kind of give up your high ground position for free. Yeah, the Valkyrie Mercy was there, but you could have gone back up there after she left. Now here, no one on the enemy team is paying any attention to you whatsoever. And in scenarios like this, that means free hack for you. And instead of getting a free hack, you just decide to hold down left click. Like, you're like, oh, I go for a hack. You know, they don't want me to hack them. Okay, I won't hack them. Like, you could have still easily hacked the Sigma there. Easy. And then he'd just be easy target for your team to kill. You kill the Moira, which is fine. You can still hack the Sigma. That'd cancel his suck. He hacked by Zarya. Okay, now you can hack the Zarya. Then she's not gonna have her own bubble. Instead, you just hold left click. Like, finally you decide to hack the Sigma, but you could have done it a lot earlier. If you're gonna be playing Sombra, you have to be going for hacks, because if you're just going for damage, there's not a million, that's an exaggeration, but there's so many other DPS players that are just straight up deal more damage than Sombra. So you have to be going for hacks. If you're not, you're kind of just soft throwing for your team, because you're just dealing damage, but because of the way Sombra is, she just doesn't naturally, just like her stats, she just does not deal as much DPS as other heroes like Ashe, McCree, Tracer. You know, she just does not deal enough as much as them. So you have to be going for hacks. I'm not gonna say too much about here. EMP, which is fine, and your team's actually able to capitalize on your EMP this time because they're all in position, so that's good. But you kind of still stay in your team's front line rather than be in the enemy team's back line, and that's, you do that a lot as Sombra. It's okay to do that with other heroes, DPS heroes, but not as Sombra. Sombra, you generally want to be playing in the back line, because then it forces the enemy team to either look at your team or look at you, and it relieves pressure from your team because it puts pressure on the enemy team to look at you, which is somewhere else that's not at your team. But I think that's the last time I'm going to say that, because I've said that a lot already, I think. Here, if this will load, don't actually remember what happens here. Hello. Oh my goodness. My internet seems to have... Okay. Let's come over here. Skip forward a bit more. Okay. A little bit more. Okay. So. Oh yeah, there's one thing I want to say here. You have this high ground here, which is really good. And then you go for this hack on the Reinhardt, which is also really good. The problem is, you jump off, which I'm not actually sure if you could have reached it without jumping off. But if you couldn't have, then that's fine. But if you could have avoided jumping off, then try to just stay on there, so then you can stay on the high ground and then shoot down from them. Because it's harder for the enemy to shoot up at you versus to shoot horizontally at you. Again, you want to be getting back behind the enemy now. So maybe that means going to that staircase that was across from you. I think that staircase over there that leads to this high ground. Because then you can, you know, mess with their back line and they'd have to turn around to look at you. Because like right now, the enemy team is already looking at your team, and you uncloak in your team, which the enemy team is already looking at. So then it's pretty easy for them to cancel your hack here, which they do. And here you have one bullet, so you should reload. you probably could have gotten away with hacking someone there. They weren't really looking at you. Here, you definitely should hack someone. You should just chill out, wait a bit for them to push up, and then you can get a hack on someone. Like, the Ashe, she didn't see you at all. You could have hacked her, even. You get a big hack on the Reinhardt, right? And just look how quickly the enemy team falls apart. You get a hack on a high value target, and the enemy team just falls apart. Now, the nano definitely helps, but the hack, I'd say, is what really helped that there. And then your Reinhardt is kind of dumb here and dies, which is really unfortunate for you and your team, because now the enemy team, their Reinhardt's going to be back faster. He's already back, actually. And your Reinhardt is not going to be back as fast. But notice how you're standing here, and you try to hack the Reinhardt, and he has to look at you to cancel this hack. And Zarya has to look at you too, because he doesn't want his hack, or his Reinhardt to be hacked. Which means they're not looking at your team at all. Your team can do whatever they want to get their Reinhardt, and he has to shift his focus between your team and you, your team and you, your team and you. Same with Zarya. Or else he's just gonna get hacked. He feeds. Now here, you have your invisibility, so you can use it to reposition. No one's looking at you. Also, you can hack the Zarya. She's not looking at you. You can hack the Zarya. That means she can't bubble her teammates. She can't bubble herself. She's super vulnerable. You shoot at her, and I think she gets... she ends up dying. Okay. Which is fine. But you definitely could have just hacked her, and then guaranteed the kill. Maybe you were tracking her bubbles, and she already used her bubble. And in which case, yeah. But still, it's a cooldown. It'll come back. And I think her healer was still up, but... So you're scouting here. This is good. They're going high ground right now, and there's no reason why you can't just follow, a couple paces behind them. You're invisible; they can't see you, so that way you can get more information as you follow them, versus staying down here where you really don't get that much new information compared to the rest of your team. They can already see the Ashe down here. They already know the Ana's behind her healing her. Versus if you were up there, you can be seeing where the enemy team is going, and then you can tell your team where they're going, and then your team can make a strategy depending on what they like individually. Obviously this is, I assume, solo queue, so everyone's like, okay, everyone's playing by themselves. They all have their own thought. It's not like an organized team or anything. But still, if you tell them they're all going here, each one can individually say, okay, they know, okay, that's where they are. They're definitely going to be coming down here through that hallway or jumping off, and then they can make a plan based on that. But as of right now, they don't really know where they are. They could be around that corner for all they know. Get scared away, that's fine. You have your translocator, so you can use it, throw it here, go invisible, go out and scout again, and look for a good EMP spot. You could even be doing what you're doing right here just by being invisible, but you don't go invisible for some reason, and I'm not sure why. That causes you to play super passively here. You could have hacked that Zarya too, by the way. She wasn't looking at you. And then you see the Reinhardt drop, so you can go for EMP. Problem with this EMP is, look. That's, how do I, okay. Reinhardt's in your team. I think that's... Reinhardt's in your team. Zarya's in your team. You don't end up seeing these three people of the enemy team while you're staying that cubby over there, because you're just hiding there, not wanting to come out. Even though you could just go invisible and come out and they won't be able to see you anyway. Because of that, look at what this EMP does. It hits the Reinhardt, who's over there. It hits the Zarya here. It hits this Lucio here, who you didn't even know was there, by the way. But what you don't see, actually, you don't see this Ana at all. You don't see that, they're both out of range of your EMP, but just even ignoring that, you yourself personally don't see them when you EMP. You just see the Reinhardt. You see the Zarya. You know the Zarya was there because you were looking at her when you TP'd, and you have some vague idea that Lucio is also somewhere there, but you have no idea where exactly they are. And you had no idea that the Ana and Ashe were there either. Because of that, you think, oh, okay, this is safe. Zarya's hacked. She's right next to me. She's hacked. Okay, whatever. Reinhardt is shattered and hacked. Okay, I can stay here and deal damage. When reality is, you can't. Because Ashe is just there shooting at you. And then McCree ends up getting high ground because you didn't see him either. And you die. Whereas if you had been able to scout for more information, if you instead of just staying here and kind of like peeking around the edge, waiting for Reinhardt to drop down, had you gone invisible, you'd have been able to get more information and you would have been able to plan a different EMP based on where the enemy team was positioned. Instead of just hoping they're all going to be right next to the Reinhardt. Which, to be fair, a lot of them were close to the Reinhardt, but they weren't right next to them, so your EMP only hit 3. Here you're playing high ground, which is good. Look at that. You uncloak, Reinhardt has to immediately look at you or else he's going to get hacked. And that means he's not looking at your team. Although, because you cloaked kind of in front of your team anyways, he's already kind of... He's looking at you with his shield, yes, but he's also still kind of blocking damage from your team. So, ideally, a better position would be somewhere where it's like, I don't know, maybe this corner here. That's risky, though, because McCree's there. So, there's really not much you could have done here. Maybe play a little bit more patiently, though. Wait a little bit for them to push up just a little bit more so you can actually get behind them. Because you give away your position here and then you're forced to get out, or else Ashe and McCree are just going to kill you. This flank is good. This flank is really good. Now you get a hack on the McCree instead of the Reinhardt, which is kind of unfortunate. But... Oh, this is also really unfortunate. You have 60 health. Always pay attention to how much health you have. You probably tried to get the hack off on the Bob while he was running before he activated, but that's just kind of unlucky, I think. Here, you're hiding while you're invisible. When you're invisible. You could be getting more information rather than staring at this wall. Sombra, a lot of it is just information gathering. Like, you're invisible. And then you drop from high ground when you don't have to. That might have been an accident because you TP out immediately, which is fine. But look, that Reinhardt has to look at you. He has to look at you with his shield because he knows you're going to try to hack him as soon as he looks away. And what does that mean for your team? They can pressure him. They can pressure him so much because he has to look at you, or else he just doesn't have a shield. Like, he backs up so much. You could have just stayed on that high ground. You didn't have to drop. No one can deal with you. McCree might take a couple pot shots at you, but that's fine, right? But because you drop down, it's easier for them to hit, and then you die. But just... And now, because you're not there, Reinhardt's not worried about getting hacked anymore, losing his shield. You're dead, right? So, Sombra makes so much space just by existing. Just the mere thought of being able to be hacked by a Sombra is enough to... Here you can hack the Zarya, by the way. That happens a lot. Sorry to interrupt, but so many times where you can hack someone and you just don't... When there's really no downside to hacking them. But as I was saying, just the mere idea of being able to be hacked by enemy Sombra is enough to make people play super passively. Like, he knows you're up there because you showed yourself, tried to hack him, and he reflexively blocked it, which is good on his part. But then he has to keep looking at you. He has to keep backing up in the meantime, or else your team is just advancing because they know he has to keep looking at you. That's how you want to, like, a big part of playing Sombra is just forcing the enemy team to look at you, and you want to make sure that they're looking at you away from your team, so like they have to make the decision, really hard decision. Do I look at the Sombra and don't get hacked by the Sombra, but potentially be attacked by whatever the rest of the Sombra's team is doing, or do I look at the rest of the Sombra's team and hope that the Sombra doesn't hack me? It's a hard choice to make. Also, here you're kind of playing like you're not invisible, like you're kind of just like cautiously peeking over the edge and stuff, and like, oh, you gotta play careful, be around corners and stuff. You're invisible. They can't see you up there. They have no idea that you're up there. They're not even checking for you, right? Against better teams, maybe they'd be spy checking there, but they're not. The enemy team clearly is not, so there's no need to play that scared. Another thing with EMP, whenever you're using it while you're cloaked, try to uncloak before you EMP, because it takes time for when you're EMPing while cloaked. It takes time for you to decloak. So if you're uncloaked and you press Q, it takes a couple seconds for you to decloak, and then it takes however long it takes for you to do the animation to do the Q. Whereas if you like melee beforehand, you get out of the Q, you get out of invisibility. You can like control when you get out of invisibility, so then when you appear, you're already ready to hit Q. Whereas it takes some time to uncloak when you're invisible and you hit Q. It's kind of weird, but just as a general rule of thumb, if you're invisible and you want to ult, melee first so you can break the invis, and then you can ult. And always make sure, if you're not going to be using a translocator to go in to initiate an EMP, always make sure you have it to get out. Sometimes you initiate with your translocate, so that there's no getting around that. But if you're not initiating with translocate, if you're just walking up, always make sure you have a get out translocator. Now this Ashe here, you uncloak in front of her. She can see you. She knows you're going to hack her. Whereas if you just waited half a second to where you're behind her, she has to do a really big mouse swipe to be able to get at you, and then she's probably still not even going to hit you, at least not her first shot. Eventually she might. But by then you would have either hacked her, hopefully, or been able to deal a lot more damage to her. But because she can see you here, look how fast she reacts to you. And she's able to get out because you can't hack her. Whereas if you just waited a couple seconds, get behind her, and then uncloak. Now, there's no reason not to hack her here. She's not paying attention to you whatsoever. She only notices you after you shoot her. If you had hacked her, she would not have been able to coach gun away, and then it would have just been an easy kill, unless she lands a really nice headshot on you. You have to be hacking people. You have to be hacking people. And there you have to touch because of overtime, which is fine. You have to be hacking people as Sombra. Taking the high ground, getting behind them, whatever it is that you have to do. Just your job as Sombra is just not necessarily to secure kills. Like, not even to do damage sometimes. Not even to farm EMP sometimes. Sometimes all you have to do to be a good Sombra is to just be a nuisance to the enemy team. Here, that Moira is not, she's obviously not, does not have her hands on the keyboard. She's probably checking her phone or something. She's not paying attention whatsoever. It's a free hack. And what do you not do? You don't hack her. You just shoot her, and then she fades away, and she lives. If you had hacked her, she'd be dead, because she can't fade. You have to be hacking people. If you're not going to be hacking people, you might as well just play a better DPS, because you're not going to be... You're going to... Sombra just... Her DPS is not as high as someone like Echo, Tracer, McCree, Ashe, Hanzo. Tons of more DPS that have higher DPS than her. So here, you EMP as soon as you get it. However, the problem with that is EMP doesn't clear Brig ult. Yeah, nor does... What the heck? Nor does it clear the armor that Brig gets from her ult. And because she's already ulting there, your team can't really... your team can't really push in. They can't take advantage of your EMP here. Because look. You EMP here. Okay, you EMP 4 people. That's pretty big. But look at... First of all, there are tracers on your back line. You couldn't have known that. Maybe if you were playing up there, which you know, hindsight 2020, right? You couldn't have known that. But even if the tracer wasn't there, look at who on your team is alive. Moira, Ana, Zarya, Hanzo. Neither of those, none of those people want to get close to an ulting Brig. Whereas the ulting Brig wants to get close to them. So, you EMP these people, but no one on your team is going to want to get close to them to take advantage of the EMP, because the Brig is also ulting. So, unless you have another ult that you can combo with EMP, rarely is it a good idea to EMP a Brig, especially if you're down your Reinhardt. Because Reinhardt, he can go in and he doesn't care about an ulting Brig. He'll just swing his hammer and kill the Brig or Charger or something, right? But those people that are alive on your team, they can't kill the raid boss very easily. Even with no abilities on the enemy team, Brig with ult is just very scary. So whenever you use EMP without a combo in mind, always be aware of who on your team can capitalize on your EMP and who on the enemy team might be able to negate the effects of the EMP or something like that, right? And then here you just end up getting capped. There's nothing you can do about it. If you had EMP there, maybe there was something you could have done, but that's fine. That's fine. You're shooting without hacking here. In this scenario, it's fine because you're too far away to get the hack anyways. You might as well get some ult charge, which is good. And it forces them to look at you, and because of that, they have to go this way. And you're actually following them this time. That's really good. Now that was unlucky. Reinhardt decided to finally check for Sombra. First time of this map. That's, you know, just unlucky. Sometimes it happens, but you're able to get out, which is good. You get the hack on the Rein. That's huge. Now the Zarya drops down. No one else on the team wants to. They're forced to because Zarya drops alone. But you're able to clean up. That hack was huge on that. You got so much value with that hack. You just... Overall... You're not playing terrible. But you could definitely be playing a lot better with your hacks. Like, there's so many scenarios where you're just straight up not hacking people, and that causes your team to lose because they don't have as much damage as they would with another DPS character who has higher DPS, and they're also not getting the value from the hacks, or getting the value from you creating space in the enemy backline. So definitely for sure work on just hacking more. Like, at this rate, it doesn't even matter who you hack. Just hack someone, because that's like, you're just not hacking enough, and because of that, you're not getting enough value out of Sombra. And you're playing a little bit Sombra. Sometimes you have to be a little bit more patient than you would normally be with other heroes. If you were just slightly more patient here, if you're just slightly more patient, 2 seconds. If you just wait 2 seconds to uncloak, you could hack that Moira. At this point, just wait 1 second before you shoot. 1 second is all you need, and then you can hack the Moira, and then either force the BAP to use invulnerability, or force him to focus his healing onto the Moira, in which case that's no healing for the Reinhardt, in which case your Reinhardt can deal damage to their Reinhardt, and then the BAP's like, oh no, Moira's getting low, the Rein's getting low, what do I do? You know? It forces them to make hard decisions. And all the while, McCree probably has to turn around to look at you so that you don't kill the Moira. And that means he's not looking at the rest of your team. Instead, you just shoot. Moira's fine. It's still okay though, because McCree has to shift his attention to you. Now this TP here is not that great, because you could have just stayed invisible and loitered around in the enemy backline, and there's nothing they can do about it. What are they gonna do? Maybe, you know, have a TP somewhere else, and they're invisible. They can't see you. Maybe they can if they just get lucky and hit you, or you bump into them. But there's no reason to regroup with your team. Sombra is not a person that needs to play physically with their team. She needs to play with their team, like, not physically, but like she has to work with her team, right? But she doesn't have to play physically right next to them. Now this is good. You're getting behind. This is so good. I don't know why you haven't done this like at all the rest of this mod, but this is so good. You're in the enemy backline. Yeah, you're shooting them. You're getting ult charged. They have to shift their attention to you. The only problem is your team did not realize what you're doing. Did not realize that you were creating so much space for them, and they were not pushing it. That's the only, and that's not even your fault, right? But so to avoid that from happening in the future, maybe say, hey, I'm in the back line, you guys can push in. They're gonna all look at me, go, or something like that. But even without your team pushing in, capitalizing on all that space, look, they had to back up so much just because you were behind them. Now, if you can get behind them again, maybe over there, you can do the same thing again. You can force them off point because they're not going to want to play on point because you're going to be here, or your team's going to be here. You're going to be there. You can like create this crossfire where they're not going to want to enter. And if they do, but the thing is, they're going to have to enter or else they lose the game. So then they enter this undesirable situation for them, and it's very good for you. And then you get this crossfire. You can make things happen. As it is right now, you have this kind of mini crossfire, but they're looking to their side. They're looking like maybe 90, 45 degrees to their left, whereas they could be looking at 180 degrees, an entire 180 behind them. And because of that, you kind of you can't use your EMP. Your team loses. Now it's a tie, which is good, but this is easily winnable for you if you just made some better choices. Although you might still win here, actually. I didn't actually finish the VOD because it got corrupted before then, so this is a first for me. Oh, hack. So here, what I would do instead of throwing translocator there, I just throw it over there or just behind them. Like even if they see the translocator going behind them, what are their options? They can shoot the translocator, in which case, okay, you're here already anyway, so like it doesn't really hurt to throw it. Or they can wait for you to teleport back there and then turn around to shoot at you, in which case they're not looking at the rest of your team, which is fine. It's a win for you. They're not looking at your team can make something happen. Or the third option is they just ignore you, and then you can shoot at them, hack them, do whatever you want behind them. Because as it is right now, you can't get any hacks off right now, because they're looking at your team, and because you're with your team, they're inadvertently looking at you, which means you can't do anything. If they see you going for a hack, they'll just shoot you, or put their shield up, right? You can't do anything besides just left click. In which case, you might as well just been playing Tracer or someone who can left click better. Hack, you can hack them, except maybe not because you're in front of them. But like, that's the idea, right? You want to be going for hacks as Sombra. Cannot stress it enough. Go for hacks and position behind the enemy team rather than with your team. Oh, still 40 minutes. Holy cow. Okay. Hopefully this was helpful. Just brief summary. Hack people, please hack people before shooting them unless you're in front of them and they can cancel it. Play just tiny little bit more patient. Wait so that you can hack people and then shoot people. Just wait for them to get into position so you can get the perfect EMP. Just wait a little bit so you can get more information so that you can get the perfect EMP or whatever. Just wait just a little bit. That doesn't mean you have to just like every single time you EMP it has to be 6 people. No, just a little bit more patience can go a long way with Sombra. I think that's all the points I had. Hopefully this was helpful. Now again, I have not played Overwatch in like over a month, so maybe this is all outdated information. If it is, I'm sorry. Hopefully it's helpful. Yeah, hopefully it is. All right. Stay safe. Hope you have a nice day.